We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns.
All right, here we are with founder and CEO Roger Rosmus of Goliath Resources, as well as one of their geos, Ashton. They're down in Panama right now, having some meetings, which is always exciting. And I want to position this because for a lot of new people, Goliath Resources is behind the Shorebit discovery in British Columbia in the Golden Triangle. And we've spent a lot of time talking about Goliath, a lot of videos. We encourage you to go back, look at some of the earlier ones and see this growth that's been happening. We've been following the story for a long time, and it's become more than repeatable year after year, high-grade drilling results, and really moved into this model that's been growing as well. So this is a big inflection point for the company. And once again, it's not just about having great drill results and getting market attention. They've spent like 150,000 meters of drilling to date. And more importantly than that, the geological model has grown from last year's, which we're going to get into, explaining the 5 different zones, as well as I think it's 46 loads or interpreted loads that are helping to define the system as well. And this is where things have changed. And people have stopped asking, is this real? And they're going, how big is this thing going to be? And that's where we want to kind of position this whole discussion. As well as, I don't really love talking about stock price, and we're not going to ask anyone about stock price, but this thing is pulled back off of no legit assays, market news, other than there's issues in this conflict in Iran, and that, especially when we're talking to new people, that's a big red light. You should be paying attention. And once again, not that I'm giving you huge advice on price targets and whatnot, but I would just say that this is probably also why Rick Rule says this is starting to get very interesting. So a long-winded intro. How are you guys doing down in Panama? How are meetings going down there so far?
Hey, firstly, Andrew, thanks for having us on. Always a pleasure to get an update of obviously what we've done and what we're about to do this year as well, because mobilization is just around the corner here. And if anyone takes a good look at our chart here for the last sort of 2 to 3 years, it's almost predictable. It's kind of scary, uncanny actually, but it's a good time to be certainly taking another look at us, I think, just based on the pullback, obviously with the conflicts overseas and just the general world itself, and a bit of a there's just lots of storms all over the place. So it's gold is still holding some decent valuations here, and anyways, that's sort of where we're at here, and we just thought we'd give your audience a sort of a quick update as to what to expect for this year, and to really, maybe if they forgot about the story because we haven't had any assay news for a couple months, that maybe is a good time to be doing having a relook at the name.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate, everyone knows I'm not a chartist. I'm not very big on that. But even not being a chartist, it's pretty dead simple to go back in time and look at the ebb and flow. And what's so interesting about that is, I look at things as far as data, the fundamental, how the story is developing and what is developing in that. And that is rock solid. So it is very interesting for any of you. You don't have to understand charts to look at this thing, because it like you said, very predictable. And that's, I'll leave at that. But when we're talking about this model, because that is where this thing has really pivoted to, over the last years, attracting institutional wealth, lots of big players. And that's, we want to reiterate to people, that's what makes stories compelling, is you're adding on not only great assay results, 3D modeling, and whatnot, but you're attracting the right people as well. So maybe when you've looked at this, expanding and defining this geological model, Russ, maybe we'll pull up some of the screens here, but what is that real shift you found in the mineralization?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, for having me on here. Yes. So, I mean, right away, you can see quite a bit of difference between the 2024 model and the 2025. So this is the result of a 64,000 meter drill program that we completed in 2025. And it's added about 30% more to the volumes that we had from the 2024. Noticeably, you can see within the Surebet zone, where we used to have areas like Goldzilla, El Dorado, as well as Whopper, those have all either been consolidated in or have been refined and expanded upon. So a major effort with the drill program has been to define areas where haven't been drilled before. So also increasing our confidence in the continuity of the mineral system within the Hazelton sediment package. When we move down below into the Bonanza zone, that has also been refined as well with the number of our volumes that we have, and has been pulled out greatly both to the west and to the east. When we move down lower into the system, where we have the Golden Gate system zone, the Golden Gate area has also greatly been expanded with the drilling from 2025, and it still remains open to depth. So as much as we've expanded this thing quite a bit with the 2025 drilling, the 2026 drilling is going to continue to focus on expansion, both to the west, to the east, as well as to depth. We don't know how deep the system goes. Everything that we have drilled so far to date has been above the valley floor. We only have a few holes that have gone below the valley, and we do see mineralization within those within those drill holes. And so 2026 is going to be quite exciting with the expansion that we're doing to depth as well as laterally.
And what's really interesting about that too is that you're really hunting for this feeder system or the mother lode, and you're getting closer and closer each year as you gather more data. And even if it is fairly deep, the results you're getting to date from what you've got in this model are already very, very strong. So as you keep on expanding and chasing after it, it's a very good situation that you're sitting on.
Definitely, and especially with all the drilling to date, almost 160,000 meters, we have 100% hit rate. And, we're well into the 90% of holes where we have intercepts with visible gold in the system. So, I mean, this mountain itself is just peppered through with that visible gold. Every time we go lower or expand out, we're finding visible gold as well. So that keeps things quite exciting. And it's quite exciting.
And that 92% had visible gold as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And Roger, sorry.
I was just going to interject there. Yeah, just as a reminder for the viewers, the obviously expansion off to the east there, where Jackpot is about a kilometer and change off to the east. That's where we found that big nuggety chunk of gold sitting at surface. I don't know if you can see that there. But the sister sample rock ran over 21 ounces of gold in it, which is pretty incredible stuff. So, we're seeing as we get deeper into the system, we're going to see more coarser, sort of nuggety gold there, which is really, really good. And before I forget, actually, just a plug there to the Touchstone drillers here. They're doing a bang up job for us, and all the drillers. Touchstone's been there from day one, and without these guys doing they're like incredible what these guys pull off each year. So anyways, just wanted to give a little plug to Touchstone and the rest of the guys.
It's an important thing to recognize, because we always just kind of highlight the three kind of basic things. Like, you need to have a good project, good money behind you, and good management. But as that story is building, you're attracting smart money. You need to have the good drillers, because you need everything in place. And when you have a great project that's getting the high grade holes, like years ago when you guys first started hitting high grade holes, that's attracting the right people. It's encouraging the team as well. And that builds upon itself and starts really defining a story that's real, like a discovery, compared to someone who's still just kind of searching and hoping for some good hits, or maybe they have one drill hole, but they're not showing any continuity. And that's what's really made this attract a ton of attention, is that it's moved from incredible results and assays, which it's safe, I can say, you can go back and look. But it's that we're seeing this continuity between this layer cake, essentially. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, exactly. A layer cake, stacked, 46 veins. Just think about it. 2021, we only had one vein. In aggregate time, less than 2 years. Now we have 46 veins and five of these zones. So and again, still remain open laterally and at depth. So I think based on this visual here, I think that's really the money shot. What did we accomplish last year? Well, here you go. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And 2026, we hope to obviously be continuing to expand on these known horizons.
And I mean, the model you have as well is acknowledging, and it's entirely defensible. I mean, not that I'm a big geo, but certainly it's showing that it's a coherent system. And you're getting a lot of great feedback as well, internally and out there, but also from the likes of Crescat. I mean, they've looked and defined what a discovery is as far as they're concerned. They've looked at the frame line. They've compared to the likes of Snowline Gold. And once again, I wouldn't use that because I don't have the expertise to back that up. But I can tell you that Dr. Quinton Henning has made that comparison, and that's of big, I think, respect and acknowledgement for anyone new who's looking at this story, to see who's also cheerleading behind the scenes on a very technical level. Sure.
Yeah, the Colorado School of Mines have been extremely helpful. And also, to your point about some of the shareholders, Eric Sprott, Rob McEwen Mining, or I guess McEwen Inc. now, MUX, Crescat, as you mentioned, Larry Childress, Global Commodity Group out of Singapore. So, we've got all the right names in there. And, unfortunately, to your opening statement here, I think the whole sector itself has been chopped by 40-50%. I think we may have been one of the first companies to hit that the decrease comparative, because I think people know that we have liquidity. I mean, we've traded close to 200 million shares in the last 52 weeks with a VWAP of $2.37. I think today we're currently trading around $1.80. I mean, still a reasonable market cap, just north of like 325 million Canadian. But just to show you that there are people there that they're just picking up the stock. I mean, they know it's a bargain, and certainly from the highs of $3.54, and certainly what Cole McGill at Stifel, his projection, he thinks there's sort of minimum kind of a 4 to 5 million ounce system here, deposit, trading around 5 to 6 grams. I mean, he's done a really good report there. In addition to some of the other reports we're seeing there. So just the sign of the times, what's going on there. And the equities, again, are still, in my opinion, there is a significant disconnect between actual precious metal prices and the equities out there. So hopefully this year, we see things sort of stabilize here. Maybe gold is, just have it sit like a nice kind of trade, kind of 4,500-ish level all year. I'd be happy camper, and that could possibly take some of the volatility. Obviously, some of these things are going on in the world that gets resolved. But I think maybe that's what people are waiting to see, is more of a stabilization. Because if you look at the fear and greed index, the CNN there, I think we're still in extreme fear. So, there's a buyer strike out there right now for the most part.
And having that level of liquidity too in a junior market is exceptional. It's also rare. And it's a big, huge win, and shows the amount of earned respect and attention you guys have got. But it also comes with that curse, is that because it's liquid. But we're highlighting that right now as certainly to our subscribers and to anyone new, is that when you have a move like that in a down with there's no reason, there's no assays, there's nothing negative, that's a big highlight. And that's where the discipline kicks in. For someone like me, who's a long-term buyer of companies. I don't trade. I mean, there's obviously lots of trading opportunity with Goliath, but I like to go buy and build because we're building along with the story, with the growth in the scale that you guys have been developing and in the model, but also the recognition from Stifel or even Crescat. They've got you multi-million ounce modeling. That's very significant. And I'll just add this one other comment because it just brings me back to a discussion with Doug Silver. We speak with him a couple times a year. And of course, big Hall of Fame miner winner in the US and in Canada. And he reminded me, like, there's not a lot of 1 million ounce discoveries in the world. Like 1 million ounce, that's, hey, good for you. So that kind of puts this into frame and reference of what we're talking about here too, which is you're getting a very unique situation with hitting 100%, well over the million. It puts you into a rare, unicorn type of situation. And that, once again, it's not being promotional. These are the facts. Needs to be highlighted, and I think it's important.
Yeah, and then just one other aspect too, sort of just to pop back, is it's kind of interesting. The shorts, the actual disclosed shorts, are close to 1 million shares over. It's been building up for the last. People can check this out on the actual recorded shorts, and it's close to 1 million shares short on the stock, which I think is quite amazing. Like, I'm just shocked, but I don't know what the game plan is. But then in my mind is, okay, here's the disclosed shorts. So, based on just my gut sense and just talking to people that know a lot about this whole undisclosed naked shorting, that could be probably a 10x from there. So, because I get calls, not every day, but a lot, going like, where's all this? Who's selling all the stock? Who's selling all the stock? I think a lot of it has to do, obviously, with these algos, these vulture type of funds that take advantage of these times where, okay, guess what? All the precious metal stocks are all going to get whacked, and we're just going to short the crap out of them, right?
Yeah. And once again, having volume just attracts them even more.
Correct.
So Russell, let's walk through the actual model here and describe what has grown in it, and what you validated, and how it's showing continuity and whatnot, so that people can understand what is growing here and developing.
For sure. So first thing to point out are the different zones. So we have the sure bet zone, which is the yellow volume here. This was where in 2021, when we did our inaugural drill program, we focused on drilling along the margins of this. This is something that you can actually put your finger on and trace up the south side of the mountain for 1 kilometer. And then around the backside on the north, it traces down for about 1.1 kilometers. So this was the focus in 2021. And at the end of that season, we stepped out about 1 kilometer a bit out and drilled actually into the Bonanza zone. That was our first occurrence of the Bonanza, which is the purple layer. This is at the contact between the Hazelton sediments and volcanics. And then up to 2025, we have been drilling all these different domains. So again, Sherbet, the Bonanza, the Golden Gate, which is the green down below within the volcanics. And then we have a number of other domains like El Dorado, which is the blue, and the Whopper, which is the blue, and El Dorado, which is the orange here. So this system's quite young. The mineralization is Eocene in age. So in terms of continuity, these structures cross-cut a lot of the folding that we have that is obvious in the sediments, and also down in the volcanics as well. The only places that we actually have any anything that's discontinuous within our continuity is usually at cliffs and at valleys. So basically topographic discontinuities. And so that makes the system quite predictable when it comes down to drilling, because it is cross-cutting the folds as well as a lot of the major faults that we have in the area. The growth that we've had on this from 2024 to 2025, again, with the 64,000 meter program, is we've really expanded the known Golden Gate zone to depth and out mostly to the west as well as out to the east. And then the Bonanza zone itself has grown quite significantly out to the east as well. We will be focusing quite a bit in 2026 for the drilling, again, on expanding the Bonanza out to the east. the Golden Gate itself out to the east and west, and then also to depth. Because again, all these veins that we have, the 46 different veins that are contained within these 5 main zones, are all laterally open as well as to depth.
Yeah. So Andrew, you can actually see the bonanza on the north slope of the mountain. So Russ, we were talking about that earlier today about where bonanza pops out. But you can see it on the north slope. So there's that huge gap. So Russ, if you spin the model there's like spin it back around to facing from the north. The south slope there. Yeah. So all that area that you can see where the purple stops could possibly go to where we see bonanza on the north slope, and that would essentially double, close to double the size. The footprint of bonanza, which is pretty incredible.
Yes, that is pretty incredible. Is that where you're finding the strongest hints and indicators, or Pathfinder? Like, is that where you're kind of thinking, hey, this is where we're being drawn to?
Well, yeah, I mean, just for reference on this model, Jackpot sits right down on this area. So this is where we were finding those large, chunky, visible gold samples at surface.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the potential for the system, out to the east, we have quite a bit of potential out that way.
Now, with this as well, because we'd like to have a little bit of questions for if you're like a family office fund person, if you're retail, for some geos here, is this kind of where the dikes come in with that RARG type of formation, or intrusion that you have? Does that explain how this is kind of flowing out?
Well, that is mostly located within the main body of mineralization that we've currently defined. A lot of those dikes are running vertically through the system here. So we do find mineralization within those dikes. In this area, we have not seen any of the same type of diking as we move more to the east currently. There are dikes out this area, and other than surface exploration, we have not tested anything. So nothing's been drilled on this end. So in terms of what those dikes are bringing in for mineralization, we haven't defined it as we move out to this area. But the potential is still there because, again, the diking does continuing on.
Okay, so so it's kind of like, say, in theory, it could be that these dikes could be directly down to that kind of mother lode, that feeder system, and they kind of come up at like a claw, like hand from underneath the ground.
Correct. The potential, yes.
Okay.
But also we've got, notice that Sherbet dips to obviously the southwest, Bonanza dipping to the southeast, and then you got Golden Gate kind of, there's a couple variations there. So, maybe it's coming up through Golden Gate, I guess, at depth, hitting that, flooding these other, the weakest points in the mountain and just filling up the cracks, right? So again, this hadn't been drilled before ever. We're the first one. We're the pioneers here. And every year we're, learning something new. And but clearly there's multiple theories. Is there maybe 2 separate sources all connected to one main source? But bottom line is we just need to continue to drill out the system, expand on the known horizons, and I'm sure this model will be significantly different than today's model once we finish the 2026 drilling.
And that's coming up soon, and it's always interesting to see this thing expand. And I'm just going to throw this in because it is important, and once again for new viewers, is that infrastructure that's already there. I mean, you've got Kitzel close by, and I'll tie this part 2 in. The fact that you guys did early metallurgical work. I mean, some people would say, oh, it's too early to do that. You don't know what you have yet. It's like, no, that's outstanding because we already know you had like 92% recoveries on metallurgy. You have to do further work, but you've done a lot of pre-work as well that sets yourself up to go, listen, like it's good to have these conversations now to know that not only do we have something here, but we've got a lot of the other pieces of the puzzle that a major would look at, or anybody who's looking at this is very interested and wants to see as well.
Sure. Or we're possibly building a mine, I mean, certainly from the environmental point of view, with that 92.2%, very coarse crush of like 327 microns, sort of the size of the sand on a beach. within that, we're getting almost 50% of that is free gold just from the gravity alone. So, possible doré bars could be poured on site. So no deleterious material, no cyanide required. So it's just a basic gravity flotation circuit. So, it certainly ticks all the boxes. Obviously, with the town of Kitsault there, high tension power. We sit on tide water into Kitsault there, and then obviously down to Prince Rupert, where you've got rail across Canada and obviously into the States. And then with that, you've got a deep sea port there. And then the big bonus is the fact that the old Avanti Moly mine is still there. It sits on private property. It's permitted, so it's a brownfield site. So, one could say there's almost a sort of literally a turnkey scenario here to move this to a production somewhere, down the road once we actually define the full extent of the system. But clearly, we're in no rush to do that because, like I say, we don't want to put a fence around it prematurely. And each year we'll assess the situation, and if the system remains open laterally and at depth, guess what? We're just gonna we'll continue to drill. But obviously, every time we drill, we're hitting multiple pierce points through various loads all the way through. So it's not just focused on one of the loads. We're getting additional data because right now it's over 1,500 pierce points on this.
Yeah.
So 1,500 pierce points. That definitely, without a doubt, shows again the continuity of the system, how it's predictable, it's robust. When we're drilling it, we're hitting it, plus or minus, dead on or plus or minus 5 to 10 meters, which is quite incredible.
Yeah, because I always hear too is, when are you going to put a resource out? And I'm glad you've basically already answered that. And I go, why? Why would they right now? If you keep on growing and expanding and stepping out, you just have to force someone else to maybe stop you from expanding it, and they have to buy you. Like, why would you just put the fence out?
I was just talking to a miner, a few weeks back, and they said, well, why would you ever want to put out a resource?
Yeah.
You listen to Kevin at Crescat Capital, I think a couple sessions ago, I was like, well, we don't want them to put out a resource. So you know what? That's it's great, the fact that it's remaining open, and we're looking forward to a fully funded drill program this year because we ended the year or December anyways, the quarter with $52 million of cash and liquid securities on the books. So we'll go drill 50,000 meters. By the way, our drill cost last year, I just got the number a couple of weeks back, that was $535 Canadian all in.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible. I've been saying 600 for easy math.
Yeah.
But this year maybe we'll see a slight increase. Russ is telling me that the Jet A fuel for the helis have gone up slightly, but nothing crazy. So maybe our drilling costs, pardon me, this year might be around, let's call it 550.
That's significant too. And actually, that just reminds me, one other thing more for the corporate types out there too, is you've moved that royalty trigger. Now that's a big deal. A lot of people wouldn't pay attention to it, from 2 million ounces to 4 million ounces. Maybe kind of explain why that's actually significant.
Yeah, again, we issued the group that we auctioned the properties from. We basically issued them 3 million shares of Goliath, no warrant. And that was number one, to buy down the NSR, which is a $1.5 million US. So it took it from 3% to 2%. So a lot more attractive numbers on the NSR side of things. And we fast tracked the ownership to 100%. So now we own 100% of this thing, and of the asset of Olive Gold Digger. And, we can do any sort of transaction that may or may not, that might come along the way. And so we're just cleaning up the house, you know what I'm saying? So it was a fast track on that. And also with that, we were able to push, well, basically, and also we prepaid 4 million ounces essentially, because under the old agreement, at 2 million ounces, we would own the syndicate $1 million US. And for every ounce over 2 million ounces, we'd own $1 US. So if you look at the value of the 3 million shares and the NSR, 1.5 million for the NSR, and then we prepaid on 4 million ounces, essentially. So that can, if you can kind of read the tea leaves, this thing's getting bigger and bigger each year as we drill.
Yes. It's another very strong indicator for people, along with, I mean, we've listed a whole ton of indicators. I've stopped, even counting along the years that makes this such an easy one to talk about and to talk to people about, because there's so much developing. And the only thing keeping the speed back from, say, a comparison like a Great Bear is that you're up in the mountains of the north and you've got a very small window for drilling. And that's really, that was the biggest win, in the fact that this was a greenfield discovery hidden under ice. But at the same time, it's like, well, we can't drill there all the time. It would be very expensive. It's very challenging.
Sure. But at the end of the day, when this does become a mine, like look at Brucejack, it's actually sitting under a glacier.
Yeah.
Right. So if we got the grade, guess what? Grade solves all, and size.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's not even an issue. Really, it's just right now the focus is let's see how big this system is, and let's continue to grow it.
Well, excellent. Thanks so much, guys, for updating us, especially since you've got busy meetings down in Panama. We really appreciate certainly all the people on our subscriber list really appreciate what you guys are doing. And we never mind when it pulls back a bit, because it makes it cheaper for us, and we love that. So we really appreciate all the hard work that you guys be doing, as well as this update to the model. It explains this layer cake, and I'll leave you with any last thoughts, either Russ or Roger as well. But we wanted to say thank you for all the hard work, and we look forward to seeing what happens here in 2026.
Andrew, we appreciate it, and thanks for shout out to the team. They do an amazing job. Everyone's excited. Again, we'll be mobilizing very, very soon. We'll be drilling very, very soon. Assays very, very soon. And looking forward to it, and also coming back on the program and giving an update as to some of the things that we're seeing early on in the program. I think would be a good sort of time to reach out and have another chat with you.
Absolutely, and we'll have our eyes peeled as well. This is a very opportune moment. So thanks again, Roger, you guys, and Russ. Appreciate it, and we'll check back with you real soon. Most investors lose money